contribution of temple in the art and architecture?
See, one question so many people will have, that so far as art and culture is concerned, what is the genuine contribution of a temple? And if you look at it another way, there's a very famous line that says, first people build buildings, and then buildings build people. You know, when people build buildings, then that building contributes to the life of those people. If we build a sports stadium, it's good, it's important, and I believe in everything. Then over the time, that sports stadium will slowly generate good sports people. If you have a gymnasium, a workout center, then slowly, at least even 5%, 10% people who would go there will also improve their health. So first you build a building, and then slowly those buildings build people. So far as the mandir is concerned, and focusing on art and architecture and culture, I just want to really ask in a very open-minded way that, you know, the whole world spends so much resources, energy, manpower in excavation. If you find out that there is some past art buried somewhere, we spend so much resources and it's all worthwhile for excavation. And after that, there's a whole department, archaeological department, that would spend time in what? Restoration. Without restoration, excavation will have no meaning. And then preservation. We have World Heritage Sites, heritage buildings, associations and groups that advocate all this, and resources are spent, awareness is created. But the best way to preserve art is regeneration. You know, yes, we can excavate, we can restore, we can preserve, but can we regenerate that art? The BAPS Swami and Sanstha has, in its own humble way, been able to regenerate ancient art. And in that doing, they've also given the skills back, because those skills are needed. So thousands of artisans who have once again begun to carve, and their art is being valued, so that art is preserved for the next generation. So it's not just recreation of art or regeneration of art. And if somebody does do a proper study with all these beautiful temples which are profusely carved, the Akshardhams which are authentically carved, and places which actually harmonize art, culture and values, I feel temples are perhaps the places of regeneration of art, and again giving that pedestal to art where it all belongs.
When BAPS started this temple, were you able to find enough artists to carve those statues and carvings?
It's always been like that. I'll tell you, when we started our Delhi Akshardham, and His Holiness Pramukh Swami said that we should finish it in 5 years. We had to go down and do reverse engineering. What do I mean by reverse engineering? That we said that for this number of stone would be needed.
Okay.
Then for that, to carve that stone, this number of artisans, you know, and volunteers would be needed. To fix and actually create everything, thousands of volunteers would be needed. And you know, one of the things that even the greatest Sompuras told us, that to do something like Delhi Akshardham, just to carve and quarry the stone would take 50 years.
50 years.
50. But when we did reverse engineering, meaning, oh, then we'll need artisans. So encouragement was given. Almost 49 sites, you know, in Rajasthan area and nearby, the stone was taken to their doorsteps. Because artisans somehow, you know, they're also very homesick, and they will come at a place, then they want to go back home. So in their small villages, all the stone was taken. And while they carved, you know, and while the children studied, some elderly children, they wanted to learn. So they would do the basic carving and the parents would carve the detail. So it was almost like a university of teaching and training. And that's how all the craftsmen carved, and the temples were done in time.
So these artists are still busy in the other temple that is being constructed in Middle East. Can you tell
Yes,
us the
they are.
story about that? How come a Hindu temple is being built in the middle of Muslim kingdom, Islamic world?
Honestly, it's like a fairy tale, which
Right.
is more real than real. And initially, and I know everybody also feels, sometimes there are laws and sometimes there are perceived laws. Mid laws, but still perceived laws. For a long time, for centuries, our forefathers in the Middle East always secretly wanted to have a temple, and they've always been praying about it. Uh, and all the great saints and sages have always blessed. But in 1997, when Pramukh Swami Maharaj, our spiritual leader, was there, and it was almost very difficult to even go to Abu Dhabi in these clothes. We had gone to Sharjah, and in the middle of the desert on a sand dune for the evening prayers, suddenly he said that, may there be a temple in Abu Dhabi. And everybody was quite, astounded, because it was incredible to even think like that. But slowly, slowly, as time changed, and I believe it's a story of faith and hope. And then our Prime Minister, uh, whose integrity is so high and his friendship with the rulers of Abu Dhabi was so deep as well. And slowly, this whole idea emerged that there can be a temple. In 2015, when the first announcement for the land was done, then almost 3 years went, and then after a land was identified, the generosity of the rulers was also worth mentioning. They had space in their heart. I think that's very important. So from 2.5 acres of land, they changed it to 5, then 13.5, and then another 13.5 for parking. So now they have gifted 27 acres of land
Wow.
for a beautiful temple. And I also believe when somebody gifts you, then it's also our responsibility to create something that really adds value, not just to the nation, but the fabric of the world. So the BAPS organization, through the help of our spiritual leader, Mahant Swami Maharaj, who had continued to bless, and our senior Swamis, we all got together and we started planning, what should we do there? Because the whole story has begun with love, friendship, when cultures coming together, countries coming together. This BAPS Hindu Mandir is known as a spiritual oasis for global harmony. And to just highlight one point,
Yeah.
imagine a Muslim king donating land to a Hindu temple, where our lead architect of the complex is a Christian Catholic, where our foundation designer is a Buddhist from Malaysia, where our project director was a Sikh, where our contractors of making the complex are Parsis, where one of our directors is coming from a Jain tradition. All of them have come with great selfless service in charity to help out with this BAPS Hindu Mandir, which is coming up. And for your record, almost 50,000 people of different countries, cultures, religions, and not just Indians, have come forward to carry a brick and put it for the construction of the BAPS Hindu Mandir. So it's not just harmony at the idea level. It's not just harmony at the philosophical level. It's harmony at the practical level, where everybody is identifying it. And soon it will be opened on 14th February 2024 in Abu Dhabi for the people of every walk of life.
How this temple will look like?
The temple is traditional stone, just as you see the shape. So the entire concept of the whole complex is we are bringing in three rivers: Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati. The arrival plaza is a sand dune. So everybody will walk into the sand dune,
Right.
because the original sankalp was done by Pramukh Swami Maharaj on a sand dune. So the arrival plaza is a sand dune, and then the visitors will follow the rivers of Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati, where they gather together, confluence. That's where the mandir is rising, and the mandir is made out of stone, and it is uniquely placed because it will have 7 spires, symbolically representing the 7 Emirates as well. 7 spires, the traditional Hindu mandir. In the last 600 years, uh, I don't think there's a temple which has been done in this fashion, which is known as Samdadyu. That means it's from the North Indian design. But each shrine which will hold uh, the 7 important deities of our culture, one would be Bhagwan Swaminarayan Gunatayan Swami, the other shrine would carry Radha Krishna, the Sitaram, Shiva Parvati, Tirupati Padmavati ji, Ayyappa ji. And so around those shrines, this is another unique feature that has been placed in the Hindu Mandir, is on the outside where we have, either birds, animals, and all carved or designs, we have taken stories and the scriptures of that deity. So, where Lord Rama and Sita are enshrined, we have the entire Ramayana carved, right from Valmiki to the final arrival in Ayodhya. So, around the Shiva Parvati Shikhar, we have the entire Shiva Puran carved. The story of Ayyappa, the story of Bhagwan Swaminarayan has been carved. The stories from Bhagavad and Mahabharata have been carved. I don't think there is a temple, perhaps not to my knowledge, that has all these deities' lives carved in just one place, and so beautifully, exquisitely carved. And we've also gone one step beyond, because when we say that our culture core value is Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, then we have to keep the whole world together. So once where all these stories have been carved, there is other band that continues, and that's where we have taken inspiring value tales from 14 ancient civilizations. So we have on a Hindu mandir, it's the one beautiful story from the Aztec civilization, the Mayan culture. And it talks about in friendship we flourish, in war we perish. Then we have a beautiful message and a story from the Egyptian culture, the Mesopotamian, the African, the Chinese. So, like that, all the ancient civilizations have also been carved around the Hindu temple, and that's what really makes it special and genuinely an oasis for global harmony.
You talked about the role of the Prime Minister in talking to the ruler, Abu Dhabi ruler, on getting the land. How big, how challenging it was to convince them to have a temple in the Muslim kingdom.
See, I believe because of sheer friendship, and then once we started meeting the royal family members, uh, I believe truth, transparency, and trust. These are the 3 most important parts for any, not just friendship, any relationship. And I think there is no rocket science to this.
Right.
But when you start not being really honest, so I had gone to His Highness, and we have said that we can do 2 types of temples. One can be the traditional one, which is done out of stone. It takes a little longer because a lot of carving has been done.
Right.
It just revives 10,000 years of art and architecture. The other is the RCC building. And I said honestly that we are comfortable for worshipping our Lord, even in a concrete building. And when we put the idols inside, then it would be a place of worship. That's when he chose to do the traditional. So it's not about convincing, it's about creating a relationship. And after that, I have been fortunate enough to meet at every stage, and everything that we do, we go back and explain everything. And that's how that love has grown. And that's how the temple is coming up in the Middle East.
I saw one of those pictures where he's himself lighting the lamps.
Yes. So even during Diwali time,
Yeah.
the royal family sends their people to be a part of our Diwali festival as well. And in a way, This is going to provide to the nation a huge emotional infrastructure. I don't think any country or any city can just survive on uh, the so-called infrastructure that we already have, the
Right,
streets,
right.
the hospitals, and the buildings, and the electricity, and GDP and GNP. You only feel comfortable in your own mind with your own self when you are at peace emotionally. So temples, festivals, respect and love for beliefs, it's a hugely important factor for emotional stability. And
Great.
that's going to help the nation. And everybody feels comfortable, in the Middle East, especially in UAE, tolerance is not just lip service and it's not skin deep. It's very important for the leaders, and it's an enlightened leadership, both in India and in the UAE, that has resulted in the fulfilling of a great prophecy that Pramukh Swami Maharaj saw. So, if I wanted to summarize,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
uh, it's about generosity, integrity, and spirituality. Generosity of the rulers, integrity of our leader, and spirituality of His Holiness Pramukh Swami and Mahant Swami Maharaj. The combination of these three
Yeah.
is the birth of the BAPS Hindu Mandir, Abu Dhabi.